Captain Elena Voss stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, humanity's newest Titan-class warship, and stared into the endless black of space. Stars glimmered like distant fireflies, but to her they felt cold and distant. The ship hummed with life beneath her feet, the heartbeat of a machine built not just to fight but to survive. Around her, the crew moved with quiet efficiency, each person aware that today would change the course of history. For decades, humanity had reached out into the stars, seeking allies, exploring worlds, and learning the secrets of the galaxy. Yet the galaxy had not welcomed them peacefully. The Xylarian Empire had always been a shadow at the edge of human space, vast, relentless, and cruel. Entire human colonies had vanished overnight, their cities reduced to ash, their people enslaved or executed. Fleets had tried to stop them, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. Humanity had fought hard, but even the bravest human captains sometimes wondered if their courage alone could stand against such a force. Elena called Lieutenant Aaron from the communications console, his voice tense but controlled. "We're picking up their fleet. They're massive. At least 20 cruisers, hundreds of support ships. They're moving fast and they've detected us." Elena's jaw tightened. She had trained for this, dreamed of this, and yet a part of her heart raced. This was the moment for which the Indomitable had been built. Titan-class armor, advanced plasma cannons, reinforced graviton engines, all designed to face overwhelming odds. But even with all that firepower, she knew that it wasn't the ship alone that mattered. It was the crew, the people who had sworn their lives to humanity's survival, who made the Indomitable more than metal and circuits. "Battle stations," she commanded, her voice calm but firm. "Everyone on deck, this is humanity's moment. Today we fight not just for survival, but for honor." The crew moved swiftly. Engineers ran to their consoles, checking weapons and shields. Gunners calibrated plasma cannons, eyes focused and steady. Medics prepared emergency stations, ready for the inevitable chaos of battle. Elena felt a deep pride swell in her chest. These were humans who refused to bow, who refused to be crushed. She thought of her own journey, leaving Earth as a young cadet, facing fear and doubt, training relentlessly for this day. Now everything she had learned, every hardship endured, led her to this moment. Outside the viewport, the first ships of the Xylarian fleet appeared, like dark predators cutting across the starlight. They moved in perfect formation, a terrifying display of alien precision. Elena's stomach tightened, but she did not flinch. She had seen battles before, and she knew the cost of fear. The Indomitable was humanity's answer to centuries of oppression, and she would make sure it lived up to its name. "Shields at full power," she ordered, her eyes scanning the fleet. "Weapons systems online. Prepare for evasive maneuvers." A faint hum filled the bridge as the ship's engines powered up, blue energy arcs dancing along its hull. Elena could feel the tension in the air. The calm before the storm had settled over them, heavy and suffocating, but there was also a strange beauty in it, the kind that only came when one faced something far larger than oneself, and still chose to stand tall. She glanced at her crew one by one. Each face reflected fear, hope, and determination. In that moment, Elena knew that whatever happened next, they would fight as one. Humanity had survived countless threats, and even now, staring into the jaws of the Xylarian Empire, they would not falter. "Elena," Aaron said quietly, "they've begun to advance. It's only a matter of time before..." Before the battle began, Elena placed a hand on the console and took a deep breath. "Then let them come," she said softly, yet every word carried the weight of resolve. "Let them see what humanity is capable of. Today, we show the galaxy that we do not break. We endure, we fight, we rise." As the Indomitable powered forward, cutting through the stars toward the approaching enemy fleet, a quiet determination settled over the ship. For the first time, Elena felt the weight of destiny on her shoulders, and she welcomed it. Humanity's moment had arrived, and the galaxy would never forget it. The darkness of space erupted with light as the Xylarian fleet opened fire. Energy beams and plasma bolts streaked across the void, hitting human frigates and scattering debris into the emptiness. Explosions flared like stars dying, and the cries of injured crew members echoed through the comms. Yet, amidst the chaos, the Indomitable moved with terrifying grace, its massive hull weaving between blasts that would have shattered ordinary ships. Captain Elena Voss stood at the command console, eyes narrowed, every muscle tense. Her heart pounded, but she could not show fear. Not now. Return fire, she commanded. Target the command vessels. Hit them hard. Hit them fast! The Indomitable's plasma cannons roared. Bright blue beams tore through the Xylarian shields, shredding alien hulls with precision. One cruiser exploded into 1,000 fragments, spinning lazily through space. Another was torn apart by a direct hit, the blast lighting up the dark void like a supernova. The crew watched, both in awe and terror. Their warship was powerful beyond anything they had imagined, but they knew every strike came with a price. Enemy dreadnought approaching, Lieutenant Aaron reported, his voice tight. It's massive, Captain, bigger than any ship we've seen. Its weapon systems are locking on. Elena's stomach clenched. This was no ordinary vessel. It was a fortress built to crush entire fleets. She gripped the console, feeling the vibrations from the ship's engines, and took a slow breath. All hands, brace for impact. Shields to maximum. Fire all forward cannons when ready. The first strike hit like a meteor. The Indomitable shuddered violently, alarms blaring across the bridge. Sparks flew from panels and the floor shook under the force. Crew members gritted their teeth, holding fast to consoles and railings. Yet the ship did not falter. The Titan-class armor absorbed much of the damage and the plasma shields flared, glowing under the immense pressure. Elena steadied her voice. Now, she shouted. The forward cannons fired, massive energy bolts streaking across space. They struck the dreadnought with devastating force. Its shields faltered, then collapsed, and the hull groaned under the assault. The alien ship's engines flared, and in a final, blinding explosion, it tore itself apart. Shrapnel drifted through space, a silent testament to the Indomitable's power. For the first time, the Xylarian fleet hesitated. Rumors had spread across the galaxy about Earth's Titan-class warships, but no one had truly believed them capable of facing an entire armada. Now they were seeing the truth. One human warship, and yet it had shattered one of their greatest vessels in a single strike. On the bridge, Elena allowed herself a brief, quiet breath. She looked at her crew, young, tired, frightened, but unwavering. Engineers ran through corridors repairing minor damage even as the fight raged on. Gunners cheered as their shots found their marks, and medics moved tirelessly, tending to the injured without pause. Every single person on board had chosen courage over fear, but victory had a cost. Several human frigates had been destroyed, and debris from the explosions floated like a silent graveyard around the battlefield. Elena's chest tightened. Each life lost was a wound she would carry forever. Yet she could not dwell on the pain. The battle was far from over. Humanity needed every ounce of strength, every strategy, every brave soul left. Captain, Aaron said quietly, pointing at the tactical screen. They're regrouping. I think they're planning a coordinated strike. Elena nodded. Let them come, she said, voice steady. They will learn that humans do not surrender. We endure, we fight, we rise. The Indomitable surged forward, cutting through space like a silver giant ready to face the next wave. Outside, the Xylarian fleet pressed its attack, but now there was doubt in their formation, hesitation in their ranks. Humanity's defiance had begun to shake them, even as the battle raged on. Elena felt a deep, quiet pride. This was the moment when humanity would be remembered, not just for its courage, but for its spirit. And as the first shock of battle faded into the hum of engines and distant explosions, she knew one thing with certainty. The Indomitable would not fall. Not today. The Xylarian fleet had regrouped, their formations shifting like living predators. Explosions still lit up the void, but the humans were holding their ground. Captain Elena Voss studied the tactical displays, her mind racing. Direct confrontation would destroy them. Even the Indomitable could not take every Xylarian ship at once. Humanity's hope lay not in brute force but in cleverness, in daring maneuvers that the enemy would never anticipate. Elena, Tactical Officer Joran said, voice steady, we can use the asteroid field nearby. Its narrow passages will force them to break formation. Smaller human ships can attack, disappear, and strike again. We can turn their numbers into a disadvantage. Elena's eyes flickered toward the jagged silhouettes of the asteroids, glittering faintly in starlight. It was risky. One miscalculation, and a ship could smash into the rocks. Yet it was the best chance they had. She nodded. Set the course. All ships follow my lead. Prepare for evasive maneuvers and strike and retreat tactics. As the Indomitable and its escort ships changed course, the crew moved with tense precision. Engineers monitored shields recalibrating to withstand collisions. Gunners readied rapid-fire weapons, scanning the chaotic void between massive rock formations. Medics stayed alert, knowing casualties were inevitable. Even the youngest crew members held their fear in check, their eyes reflecting the weight of this battle. The asteroid field loomed ahead, a labyrinth of jagged rocks and dark shadows. Human ships darted between the massive boulders, small and agile compared to the lumbering Xylarian cruisers. The aliens pursued with confidence, believing their firepower would overwhelm anything in their path. They did not anticipate the humans' cunning. As the first wave of Xylarian ships entered the asteroid field, alarms blared. Explosions rocked the void as alien vessels collided with hidden rocks or were shredded by human plasma fire from unexpected angles. Humanity's small ships moved like shadows, striking suddenly and vanishing into the labyrinth. Each hit was precise, calculated, and devastating. The Xylarians' numbers meant nothing here, but the victory came at a cost. One of the human frigates, caught in a tight maneuver, collided with a massive asteroid. The crew inside screamed over comms before silence fell. Elena's chest tightened with grief. She had seen many die, but each loss carved a deeper scar into her heart. "We honor them with every move we make," she whispered to herself, determination rising. "We fight for their sacrifice." Amidst the chaos, the Indomitable became a symbol of hope. Its massive hull weaved through the asteroids with surprising speed, deflecting alien attacks and delivering devastating counterstrikes. The Xylarian fleet, unprepared for this level of human strategy, began to falter. Lines broke and confusion spread among the enemy commanders. Elena knew that this was only the beginning. "Joran, track their command vessels," she ordered. "We need to cut off their leadership. Without coordination, their fleet will collapse." "Understood, Captain," Joran replied, his fingers flying across the console. The Indomitable's plasma cannons roared again, striking precise targets. Alien ships erupted in flames, their formations scattering like frightened prey. Even as they gained the upper hand, Elena felt the heavy weight of command pressing down on her. Each decision, each order carried lives on its shoulders. Yet she remained resolute. Humanity had survived against impossible odds before, and now with clever strategy and fearless hearts, they could turn the tide against the greatest force they had ever faced. Outside, the asteroid field was littered with wreckage and debris, a chaotic graveyard of both human and alien ships. The Indomitable rose above it all, unbroken, its presence a shining statement. Humans were not merely survivors, they were warriors, clever, brave, and unyielding. Elena's eyes scanned the dark expanse of space, feeling a mix of grief and pride. Humanity's moment was fragile, but it was theirs. And with courage, sacrifice, and strategy, they would continue to fight, no matter the cost. For every fallen comrade, for every human life lost, the Indomitable would carry on, striking fear into the hearts of those who dared threaten Earth. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. "We endure," she whispered. "We fight, and we rise." The asteroid field glowed with fire and debris, a graveyard of both human and Xylarian ships. Yet in the chaos, the Indomitable moved like a silver phantom, unstoppable, precise, and terrifying. Captain Elena Voss watched from the bridge as her ship struck again and again, cutting through enemy formations with surgical precision. Humanity's small, nimble ships darted among the rocks, harassing the alien fleet while the Titan-class warship tore through their command vessels. Elena's heart raced with every explosion, every near miss, but she never faltered. "Focus fire on their leaders," she commanded. "We destroy their coordination and the rest will crumble." The crew worked like a single organism, their fear tempered by discipline, courage, and the belief that humanity would not be defeated today. In the midst of the battle, Elena did something unprecedented. She activated the Indomitable's long-range comms and broadcasted a message to the entire Xylarian fleet. Her voice, calm and commanding, resonated through space. "Xylarians, you think your numbers make you invincible. You think you can crush humanity with fire and steel. But we endure, we fight, and we will never bow." The message echoed across the battlefield. Some Xylarian captains faltered, confused and angry. Fear began to ripple through their ranks. They had never faced an enemy who spoke with such defiance while standing so boldly in the face of annihilation. Elena's eyes softened for a moment as she watched the reactions on the tactical screens. She thought of every human life lost, every colony destroyed, every soul enslaved by the Xylarians. And yet here they were, humanity striking back, refusing to vanish quietly into the void. She felt a swell of pride. This was more than a battle. This was a statement to the galaxy. Humans were not weak. Humans were unstoppable. The battle intensified. Xylarian cruisers fired relentlessly, trying to regain control. Plasma beams tore through the asteroid field, colliding with rocks, creating fiery showers of sparks. Human frigates dodged with skill and speed, striking suddenly, then vanishing before the aliens could retaliate. The tide was turning. The Xylarian fleet began to break apart, their formations disintegrating under human precision and relentless courage. Inside the Indomitable, every crew member felt it, the shift in momentum. Engineers cheered quietly as damaged systems held up under fire. Gunners focused with a renewed sense of purpose, their aim deadly. Medics worked tirelessly, but the casualties were fewer as human ships maneuvered with skill and strategy. Hope had entered the battlefield and it burned bright. "Elena," Joran said, pointing at the tactical map, "their command ships are isolated. If we hit them simultaneously, we can force a retreat or even surrender." Elena nodded, determination blazing in her eyes. "Then we do it. All ships, focus your fire. Strike their leaders. Show them that humans are not to be underestimated." As the Indomitable surged forward, blasting through the remnants of alien defenses, smaller human vessels flanked the Xylarian ships. Explosions rippled through the void. The once terrifying enemy fleet was in chaos. Aliens scrambled to regroup, but the humans had seized the advantage. Every strike, every maneuver, every brave soul aboard the Indomitable sent a clear message. Humanity had arrived, and it was a force no one could ignore. Elena felt a deep, quiet satisfaction. This was not just survival. It was triumph. Humanity had proven it could face impossible odds and still prevail. She looked at her crew, young and old, injured and brave, and knew that history would remember this day. The Xylarian fleet hesitated for the first time in centuries, unsure how to respond. Space itself seemed to hold its breath. The humans had turned the tide, and the Indomitable had become a symbol of hope and defiance. Elena whispered softly, almost to herself, "We endure. We fight, we rise," and for the first time in this battle she believed it, deep in her heart. Humanity was no longer on the defensive. They were standing tall, unbroken, and ready to carve their place in the galaxy. The battlefield was littered with debris, but the Indomitable floated through it like a silver guardian. Captain Elena Voss stood on the bridge, watching the remnants of the Xylarian fleet scatter, unsure, shaken, their lines broken. Yet victory was not certain. The enemy still had firepower, and the cost to humanity had been high. She felt the weight of every life lost on her shoulders, the silent faces of those who had given everything for this fight. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Maris worked tirelessly. Sparks flew from overloaded circuits as she recalibrated the graviton drive. Her hands steady despite exhaustion, sweat streaked her face and her uniform was stained with grime and oil. "One shot at this," she muttered to herself. "One chance to finish it." She refused to leave, refused to falter. The Indomitable was not just a machine. It was humanity's hope, and she would see it through. On the bridge, Elena gathered her senior officers. Tactical Officer Joran pointed to the Xylarian flagship, still limping but dangerous. "Captain, if we jump behind it, we can strike directly at their command core. It's risky, failure means total destruction, but success will force the rest of their fleet to surrender." Elena took a deep breath. She thought of her crew, her people, the countless human lives hanging in the balance. Every decision she made carried consequences that could not be undone. Yet she also felt something stronger than fear, faith. Faith in her crew, faith in humanity, faith in their spirit. "Prepare the jump," she said, her voice steady. "We strike their heart, and we show them that humanity will not break." The crew moved with precision. Engineers verified the drive, recalculating trajectories. Gunners reloaded plasma cannons, aiming for maximum impact. Medics prepared for the worst, ready to save whoever survived. Every human aboard the Indomitable knew the risk, yet none hesitated. They were bound together by courage and purpose. As the graviton engines hummed, the massive warship began to glow with energy. Elena stood at the command console, hands gripping the rails, heart pounding. "Brace for jump," she ordered. The crew secured themselves, eyes wide but determined. Outside the viewport, space seemed to stretch and twist, stars streaking into lines as the Indomitable vanished from one point and reappeared directly behind the Xylarian flagship. Time seemed to slow. The alien vessel's weapons were still locked on, but too late. The Indomitable unleashed a storm of plasma fire, every cannon striking precise points along the flagship's hull. Explosions rippled through the enemy ship, tearing apart engines, apons, and shields. Fire spread across its surface, a brilliant inferno in the dark void of space. The Xylarian fleet reeled in shock. Their command ship, the heart of their force, was under assault by a single human warship. Panic spread through, their ranks confusion and fear clouding their once perfect coordination. Humanity's message was clear. Numbers alone did not win wars. Courage, strategy, and resolve could turn the tide against any foe. Inside the Indomitable, Elena allowed herself a moment to feel pride, but she also felt grief. Friends, comrades, and brave souls had been lost. Every life mattered, and she carried their memory like a flame in her heart. This victory was for them, for every human who had fallen, for every soul who had suffered at the hands of the Xylarians. "Captain," Joran said, voice shaking slightly, "they're breaking formation. The remaining ships, they're retreating, they're surrendering." Elena's chest tightened with emotion. Relief, pride, sorrow, and joy all mingled at once. She turned to her crew, who were already cheering quietly, hugging, and helping one another repair minor damage. "We endure," she said, voice ringing across the bridge. "We fight. We rise. Humanity will never be defeated." Outside, the shattered remnants of the Xylarian fleet retreated into the void. The stars were calm again, but the silence was not empty. It was filled with the heartbeat of humanity's victory. The Indomitable had proven that a single human warship, led by courage and skill, could challenge an empire and prevail. Elena gazed at the stars, tears glimmering in her eyes. "This is only the beginning," she whispered. "We are human, and no one will ever forget what we can do." The war was far from over, but humanity had sent a message across the galaxy. Fear humans at your own peril. The Indomitable had not only survived, it had become legend. The Indomitable surged forward, its massive engines glowing with raw power as it pursued the fleeing remnants of the Xylarian fleet. Captain Elena Voss stood on the bridge, her eyes sharp, her mind focused. The battle was far from over. Though the enemy had broken formation, their flagship still loomed ahead, a wounded giant with enough firepower to destroy half the remaining human ships. "Elena," Tactical Officer Joran said, pointing to the tactical display. "They're regrouping near that asteroid cluster. They might attempt a counterattack." Elena's jaw tightened. She knew the risks. One wrong move, and the Indomitable could be lost, along with every life aboard. But fear had no place here. Humanity had come too far, and they had survived too much. "We end this now," she said, voice steady. "All ships, full assault. Focus on the flagship. Show them what humans are capable of." The smaller human vessels darted between asteroids, drawing the enemy into narrow corridors where their numbers were meaningless. Plasma beams and missile volleys erupted across the battlefield, explosions lighting the void like distant suns. The Xylarian fleet struggled to respond, their formation shattered, their morale collapsing under the relentless human assault. Inside the Indomitable, the graviton drive hummed ominously. Elena knew this was their one chance. If the ship could jump behind the enemy flagship, they could strike at its command core directly, forcing surrender or annihilation. Every officer and crew member understood the danger. This was a risk unlike any other, and yet, no one hesitated. "Charge the graviton drive," Elena commanded. The hum of energy grew louder, resonating through the massive warship. Engineers checked systems one last time, gunners primed their weapons, and medics braced for casualties. The air on the bridge was thick with tension, but also with determination. Humanity had fought too long, sacrificed too much to turn back now. With a brilliant flash of light, the Indomitable jumped behind the Xylarian flagship. Time seemed to Slow as the ship's plasma cannons unleashed a barrage of fire, striking critical points on the alien vessel. Explosions tore through engines and weapon arrays, the hull groaning under the assault. Fire spread rapidly across the flagship, and the remaining Xylarian ships began to scatter in panic. Elena felt her heart pound. This was the culmination of years of struggle, of training, of human courage facing insurmountable odds. She thought of every fallen comrade, every human world destroyed, and knew this strike was for them. Humanity's spirit was unbroken, and it burned brighter than any weapon in the galaxy. "Captain," Joran said, voice barely above a whisper. "Their flagship, it's breaking apart. The fleet, they're surrendering." Elena's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't look away. She felt pride, sorrow, and joy all at once. She turned to her crew, young and old, injured and brave. "We endure, we fight, we rise," she declared. The words carried across the ship, echoing through corridors and into the hearts of every human aboard. Outside, the Xylarian ships fled into the void, leaving behind only silence and wreckage. The battlefield was littered with destruction, but the humans had survived. They had not only survived, they had triumphed. The Indomitable stood at the center of it all, scarred but unbroken, a beacon of hope for the galaxy. Elena allowed herself a moment to breathe. Her hands relaxed on the console as she looked at her crew. Every person aboard had risked everything, and together they had changed the course of history. Humanity had proven that courage, intelligence, and unity could overcome even the greatest enemy. "Prepare to regroup," she said quietly. "We may have won today, but humanity's journey continues. We will rebuild, we will explore, and we will rise, stronger than before." The Indomitable floated among the stars, its engines cooling, its crew weary but triumphant. The galaxy had seen what humans were capable of, and no one would ever forget. One ship, one determined crew had faced an empire and emerged victorious. Humanity's legend had only just begun. Elena whispered to herself, eyes on the distant stars. "We are human. We will endure. We will rise. And no one will ever forget that." The battlefield was quiet now, broken only by the faint hum of the Indomitable's engines. Stars sparkled above, indifferent to the destruction below. Captain Elena Voss stood on the bridge, gazing at the scattered remnants of the Xylarian fleet. The enemy had fled. Their might had been broken by the courage and skill of one human warship and its crew. Humanity had won, but the victory was bittersweet. Elena thought of the lives lost, the young pilots who had flown too close to explosions, the engineers who had risked their lives to repair failing systems, the medics who had saved the injured while under fire. Each sacrifice had been a thread woven into the story of this battle. She bowed her head for a moment, silently honoring them. Humanity's strength came not just from ships or weapons, but from its people, their hearts, their spirit, their unwavering courage. "Captain," Lieutenant Aaron said quietly, "we've received transmissions from nearby human colonies. They're cheering. They're calling us heroes. They're saying the galaxy has seen humanity's strength." Elena smiled, a mix of pride and sorrow in her eyes. "Heroes," she said softly. "No, we are survivors. We are humans. And what we have done today, we've shown the galaxy that we will not bow. We will endure. We will rise." The crew moved through the ship, some tending to minor repairs, some embracing friends after the battle. Their faces were streaked with soot, sweat, and tears, but their eyes shone with triumph. Each individual had contributed to this victory, and Elena felt a swell of pride so strong it almost hurt. Humanity's spirit had been tested, and it had proven unbreakable. Outside, the wreckage of the Xylarian fleet floated like shattered stars, a stark reminder of what had been faced and overcome. Yet even in the silence, the universe seemed to recognize the defiance of humans. The Titan-class warship had become more than a vessel. It was a symbol. a symbol that humans would fight, no matter the odds, no matter the enemy, no matter the cost. Elena walked along the bridge, touching the consoles, feeling the vibrations of the ship beneath her hands. Every decision, every order, every moment of fear and courage had led to this. Humanity had survived because it dared to stand against the impossible, because it believed in itself when the galaxy doubted it. "Captain," Joran said, voice tinged with awe, "other fleets are sending messages. They want to negotiate. They want peace." Elena's gaze turned to the stars, distant points of light that seemed to shine a little brighter tonight. "Let them remember what humans are capable of," she said. "Let them know that courage cannot be defeated, that hope cannot be destroyed, that we will endure." The Indomitable floated through the void, battered but unbroken. Its scars were a testament to the battle, a story written in fire and metal. But it was more than that. It was a legend in motion, a living proof that humanity could challenge the greatest powers in the galaxy and win. Elena's thoughts drifted to Earth, to the countless generations who had dreamed of reaching the stars, who had imagined the day humans would be more than just survivors. Today, that dream had become reality. Humanity had not only survived, it had triumphed, and its spirit would echo across the cosmos forever. She took a deep breath and whispered to herself, a vow that would travel with humanity across time and space. "We are human. We will endure. We will rise. And the galaxy will never forget our name." And in the silent expanse of space, among the distant stars and drifting wreckage, that truth echoed louder than any weapon. Humanity had arrived. Humanity had fought. Humanity had won. The legend of the indomitable and the unbreakable spirit of its people